Building wealth isn't just about personal gain, it's about empowering yourself and your community. This is Wealthy AF, your ultimate guide to understand what it truly means to be wealthy AF. And today we have Scarlette Rojas with us. Visiting today, welcome Scarlette. And Scarlette is a finance powerhouse transforming the money game, an MBA graduate with an esteemed career in banking investment roles. She's raised by immigrant parents, and she's also a licensed investment advisor and broker who brings a unique psychological approach to wealth building. Today, her and I are going to be talking about building generational wealth, more specifically for the immigrants, being that we both come from immigrant parents. Let's talk about that, but let's talk about just in general building generational wealth. Give us an example of someone that's got their financial thermostat set at a 70. Give us an example of, for instance, of what that looks like so people can understand, because it's very difficult to uncover what the unconscious mind is doing.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yep.
I'd love to hear an example from you, and then I'd like to share my old financial thermostat with you.
Mm-hmm. So an example of someone that, for example, gets into debt, gets out of debt, and then a year, 2 years passes and they're right back in debt.
Mm-hmm.
Someone else might look like you're making 6 figures, but for some reason you're not growing wealth. You're not seeing that in your investment account. You're not seeing that in your savings account. You're not seeing growth in your life. That right there shows me that they, 1, don't have the correct habits in place. 2, they see themselves at a certain temperature, right? And they cannot break through that. Because the moment they do break through that, let's say they pay off all their debt, well, their mind knows I'm someone who is typically in debt, or I'm that poor kid from back in the day, and you become that poor kid again. So it's basically your 6-year-old self, your 7-year-old self that is making decisions for you now when you're in your 40s, your 30s.
Tell us your story about that, because I know you had it and you had to work on it and you had to overcome it, just like I did.
Yeah. So really what my mindset, the biggest block I had was, 2 things actually. One of them is I hadn't seen what's possible, right? So I didn't know it was possible that I could buy a boat. Like, who thinks like that, right? I grew up in a city. I was afraid that if I left my bike outside, it would get stolen. So imagine going from something like that to, oh, hey, you could buy a boat. You could be, walking into these super luxurious stores and actually buy stuff there. That wasn't my mentality. So that was one stumbling block, that I didn't know what was possible for me, right? Number 2 was this concept of I am not them. So because I grew up low income, it almost felt like there was these people that did have it together, the kids that got the field trips, that got the clothes, that got the piano lessons, ballet lessons, all the things I wanted. I'm not them. So that immediately told my child mind that I can't get there. I'm not one of those people. And I see that a lot with first gen. The people that came here and saw their parents struggle, they see themselves as, this is me. These are my people. And then they can't get past that. And when they do get past that, they have this survivor's guilt. So that was what I had to go through and get past.
So, I'll share a quick story with you. When I was 24, I was selling insurance and life insurance in New York City. And I met this gentleman. His name was Harry, and I was making $50,000 a year. And at the time, I was 24. I had 2 kids, and another one. 20. I had my third on the way, and I was struggling. Right, I had a house at this point. I was struggling. And I was making $50,000 a year, and this guy was making $70,000 per month. All right, a month in commissions, right? You're in the financial world, so you know what I'm talking about. And I was tired. I was sick and tired of being broke, struggling. And I said to him, hey, Harry, what in the world are you doing that? We're selling the same product in the same city for the same company. How the heck you doing 70K per month and I'm making 50K per year? Like, it's just the imbalance was just out of whack. And he recommended a book. He said, go pick up this book. If you really want to know, go pick up this book and read it. And it was The Magic of Thinking Big by David Schwartz. I don't know if you've read that book. It's an amazing book, changed my world. Immediately after reading that book, Scarlett, I made $104,000 within 12 months. After not just reading, because you said something really important, it was reading and applying. So I made $104,000 within the next 12 months, the preceding 12 months. So that was my dream income, right? This one going back to 2002. And that was like, back then, that was like, holy shit, 6 figures, like 100 grand was like the big deal. Still is, I suppose. And I made, but here's what happened. My thermostat wasn't that right. So I would have this yin and yang thing. And I just want to share the story with the listeners, because if this is them, this is something you need to work on. I would have this yin and yang thing. So I would have a great month and I would, make 15 grand a month or 10 grand a month in commission. And then unconsciously, my thermostat would come back down. I would like unconsciously get lazy, self-sabotage, if that makes sense. It was weird because it was like I needed to step back and then my money would go low again. And then that would motivate me again and I would come back, light it up and get back. So I had reached that plateau of 100 grand. And anytime I would make more, I was like unconsciously slow it down. This was all happening unconscious.
Yeah.
All this stuff was
comfort.
happening.
Yeah. It's that comfort and the comfort level that you have of being the old you.
Yeah. Correct.
Right. That's
Correct.
what you know.
Correct. So, how do people overcome that? Right. How, I have my ways the way I overcome it, but I want to learn from you. You can share with our listeners. How do people overcome that and break through that so that they can create generational wealth for their families? And I want to go into that with you.
So I'm going to simplify it, and I'm actually doing it right here on paper because there's so many things that you can do, but I want to try to make it as simple as possible. Number one is your thoughts. Okay. What you say to yourself every single day is key. When you wake up, what do you say to yourself about you, about the world, right? About money and how much you can, right?
Sounds a little bit woo-woo, my girl.
Yeah, I know it does, but it's not, right? It's not.
It's not woo-woo at all, but it sounds. Some people maybe think about it and say that sounds a bit
like, oh, great. Now she's going to tell me to say my affirmations. Well, yeah, I am, right? But at the same time, I'm also going to say that you already say affirmations, fam. You already say them every single day to yourself. But what you're saying is, I'm fat, I'm old, I'm broke. I can't, I really can't understand this. I'm not good with finances. Those are shitty affirmations.
100%. 100%.
So you are already saying this to yourself. Why don't you switch it? Why don't you try something new and actually say good things to yourself? Because at the end of the day, there's a 7-year-old you inside of you, and you keep beating that 7-year-old you up with your crappy words instead of saying, you know what, I'm going to love myself and I'm going to switch the way I speak to myself and I see myself. So those are your thoughts. That's number one.
Got it. So what does that look like? Right? What does that look like? Please enlighten us. Enlighten me. What does that look like? So, okay. So you're telling me, Scarlett, it's with my mind. Okay, good. So I'm a sheetrock guy. So I hand sheetrock. I make $200 a day, right? That's what I make. Or I make $150 a day. I put, I work at an office and I make $45,000 a year. That's it. That's what I'm making. What are you saying to me right now? If there's a listener saying to you, what do you mean changed my mindset? What do you mean change my conversation with myself? What are you talking about? What does that look like? How do you do that? What are you saying to me? What do you mean?
So number one is listen to what you say to yourself, okay? And how you speak to yourself. So for example, if you are on your way to work and you drop your coffee and then you're like, my gosh, I'm so clumsy. right? That's an I am statement.
It is.
What are you saying about yourself? And we don't catch these little tiny things. I do it, right?
Mhm.
And I wrote a book on affirmations. So, and I still do that to myself where I'll say like an I am statement that is incorrect. And if you look at I am, and if you even look at what in the Bible I am stands for, right? It's a big deal.
Powerful,
It's very
powerful.
powerful. One of the most powerful words you can say
Yep.
is I am. And so that's number one. That's how that looks like. The little things you say to yourself. And then the other thing is I lay sheetrock, right? I am a $45,000 employee. That's an I am statement.
I reject
Are
that.
you?
Wait, I reject that for you. I reject that for me. We don't need that.
Right.
I don't need those
Right.
commands to my unconscious mind.
Right. Are you? Are you that? Do you make $200 a day? Maybe you do right now. Do you want to keep doing that or do you want to switch it? And then let's think about how you switch it, because what ends up happening is people define themselves with what they do right now. You are not what you do. You are not your past. You are not what your parents were. You are not what your parents made you. You're none of that. You're who you choose to be on a daily basis. And any day of the week, you can change that. It's your choice. So those are the thoughts.
I want to share this with you. I learned this quite a few years ago at a Tony Robbins event, and so I have affirmations. I have I am affirmations of who I am and what I stand for. Right. I have my own strategies of my purpose. I repeat that every morning, and that's what I'm putting in my head. And when I'm driving, and I'm repeating that in my head, I am very, very powerful. Immediate medieval times. The words I am, if you use the word I am and put anything behind that, they would hang you. People were getting hung in medieval times. That's how powerful it is. There's a great book by Napoleon Hill. It's not the typical one, Outwitting the Devil.
Ooh, that's my favorite book.
So if you've heard, if you remember, I'm listening to it again now. I read it, I don't know, in 2018 or something like that, or 2017 I read it, and I'm listening to it again, and man, am I glad I'm listening to it again. What an amazing, amazing book. And he talks in that book about drifters, and he talks about hypnotic rhythm, if you remember that, the hypnotic rhythm. And it's so give the listeners context is the devil speaking to Napoleon Hill. Napoleon Hill is interviewing the devil. It's a great book. It's a little bit controversial, but it's an interesting perspective. It's an amazing perspective. And if you remember, Scarlett, when he says that the way he gets into people's minds, he gets drifters. Drifters are people that are indecisive and they just drift through life, and he gets in their mind through fears and worries and things like that. And there's a part where Napoleon Hill asks the devil, how do you become a non-drifter? And he says the people that are non-drifters are the people that fill their minds with what they want to be and who they are and what they want to become, which is what I am statements, which is what your purpose. You fill your mind with your purpose and I am statements. Then there's no space for fear. There's no space for indecision, because you are starting to. So it's also a hypnotic rhythm. We are all in hypnotic rhythms of what we believe and we think. And it's just choose your hypnotic rhythm. I'd rather be in the hypnotic rhythm of rich people than poor people. I've been both. And I'm going to tell you, it's so much better on this side.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Right. And you mentioned something really important, because, hey, how can you change it? Right. And there's three things. There's thoughts, there's your God-given purpose, and there's people. Those are the three things that really has changed my life. Right. So we spoke about thoughts, and you brought up the next one. It's God-given purpose. It is your belief about why you're here. You can either choose to believe, oh, okay, this was a mistake. I guess I'm here. I really don't know what I'm supposed to be doing with my life. Or you can say, I am here for a God-given purpose, and I am living that God-given purpose. And if I don't know what it is, then I'm moving towards searching for it, right? when you align yourself with something bigger than just, I want to make $100,000 a year, I want to make $1 million a year, that's great. Kudos to you. But it's a purpose. What else is there behind that wish, right? Is it, I want to be the best father I can be and spend as much time with my children as I can? Is it, I want to make a difference in this world and helping immigrant people, right? And switching their mindset, right? So that it's a God-given purpose. And if you align yourself with that, I think that immediately stops you from drifting, right? Which is what you brought up. And yeah, I love that book.
Yeah, it's an amazing book. I would highly recommend it to the listeners. If it's just a really, really good book. If you haven't started your personal development journey, that would be a good one to start with. I'm always talking about books here. So let's get into this building wealth thing, this building wealth for immigrants and just in general, right? What are some of the biggest financial challenges faced by immigrants today when it comes to building generational wealth or just building wealth in general?
So then there's two pieces to that, right? There's the immigrants that came here, right? So it's like our parents.
Yes.
And then there is us, right? The first generation here. For our parents, the biggest blockade has been, right, is they really don't know anything about the investment world. So when they came here, they came with a dream. The dream is to give their children the best education and the best opportunity. And now that they're here, they fulfill that dream. Okay. So typically they're not here and they're like, oh, okay, I fulfill that dream. Now I want to get rich. That's typically not the mindset. Their mindset is like, all right, I did the best for my children. All right, then there's us. And they're kind of looking to us to really up the ante. And so now we're here. And our biggest blockade is we never learned really about investments, right?
Teach us. Very nice.
Yeah, because they didn't know. That's number one. Number two, there's going to be survivor's guilt that we feel. And then number three, there's going to be this memory of what we were before, and we need to now redefine what we want to be and who we truly are in a different vision, right? So I'll give you a perfect example of those things. One of them is, for me, it's I grew up low income, right? I was like the poor kid. So I needed to redefine who I am. I am no longer her, right? And I am someone different. And I had to check myself when I would start thinking in that direction or acting like that type of person. So it's like we have this old definition of ourselves and we have to redefine ourselves. I think that's a challenge that we have. The other challenge is we really don't know how to invest. And that's why it's super important to find people that know what they're doing and find an actual licensed financial advisor, not someone on TikTok. Right? Really, it's like everyone's like, oh my gosh, that person told me to.
Oh, that's funny.
It's like to get a trust. It's like, okay, advisor about that. So yeah.
Oh, that's hilarious. Okay, I want to talk to you. I want to ask you about survivor's guilt because I kind of early on in my journey, I kind of dealt with that a little bit. I want to get your take on how you deal with it. How did you deal with survivor's guilt, right? Because I agree, you deal with that. Yeah. I have multiple houses now. So I got kicked out at 16. And so I made an unconscious decision at 16 that I was never going to go through that pain again. So I was going to own a lot of real estate. So I don't ever have to go through that again. That was all unconscious.
Right.
Today I own 150 apartments and I have multiple residents in Pennsylvania and Florida, and multiple businesses. So, it's challenging to deal with sometimes when you're with family, and they make up these stories in their heads about you, like, hey man, I'm still the same freaking guy. I just see money differently, but I'm still the same guy. Like I just work differently. I just see world a little different. That's all. But I'm still the same. At my core, I'm still the same person, right? I'm still I'm still the same guy. I would joke with you, hang out, have a beer, whatever, right? There's certain things I won't do anymore, but at the core, I'm still the same person. It's just my mindset has shifted.
Right.
How have you dealt with that guilt of, and then there's other issues that come along with that, right? Friends and family think you have money and they, and that comes along with that shit, right? But
Yeah.
how you deal with that? How do you deal with that? How have you dealt with that?
I mean, for me, it's really been in understanding that as I get more successful, as I become more successful, I can help more, right? And so that doesn't mean like I can help only my family more. It's I can help the Latino community more. Because if a Latino sees another Latino, it's like, oh, this Latino is making it. So that means it's possible for me, you know? And in the finance industry, there's like 7% Latinos that are financial advisors, right? And then women, it's even way less than that. So when a Latino sees me like, oh, she's a financial advisor, she has her own firm, then the Latina, can say, I can do that too. And that's opening the doors and inspiring the Latino community. So for me, the more successful I get, the better it is for the whole community. That's one. I had to switch my thinking to that then, I should be helping people in a different way. I should be lending them money when they ask me for it. I should be giving. No, you shouldn't.
I give them this. This is what I give them. This is it right here. Bringing you on my podcast and listening to this, that's my way of giving you value. This is it. Providing you education, providing you resources, providing you people to help you on that journey. That's how I get.
Exactly, right? Because if you give a man a fish, he eats for one day. But if you teach a man to fish, then he eats forever, right? Mm-hmm. And that's exactly what we need to do. So, when your, cousin Maria comes looking for a loan, sorry, that's not what I do. If I'm going to lend anyone money, and actually that's a rule I put up years ago. If I'm going to lend anyone money, I'm gifting it to you.
I don't lend money I can't give. That's my rule.
Right. Exactly.
So, because it's not going to mess up our relationship, right? Exactly. It's everyone our relationship. Like if you come to me like, hey, I'm in trouble. I need $5,000. Like I can't do $5,000, but I'll give you 1,500. I'll lend you 1,500. Pay it to me whenever you can. That's because I can afford to give you 1,500, right. But not. It's not, and I'm giving it with that mindset, right? I'm lending it with that mindset. By the way, don't get any ideas if you're listening to me that you're going to come to me carefully. You're going to come for me for money and then think I'm just going to give you money, right? So I just want to make sure that. So yeah, that's kind of my rule. I learned that a long time ago because I would get often disappointed, and I'm like, man, a relationship got ruined for money. It's not worth it. Money. And that's another thing, right? I hear a lot of things, and even in the Latino community, I hear things like, hey, yo prefiero prefiero ser pobre than and have love, right? I'd rather be poor and have love. Like having money doesn't make you, like, you can't have love if you have money. It's just it's like this limiting belief. It's so blatant and obvious, guys. It's a limiting belief. And I think that's the difference between wealthy people and poor people, is that poor people think in terms of either or. So I'd rather be poor and have the love of my life than rich and miserable. Of course you don't want to be rich and miserable.
Right.
Money just amplifies who you really are. I don't rather have nothing. Rich people think in terms of, I want to have love, and I want to have money, and I want to have the big house, and I want to have the business, and. There is no either or. I want it all.
Right. Exactly. But that's the thing, right? That's that subconscious belief system that we have because we didn't have it all when we were kids, right? I didn't have it all. I had love. I didn't have luxuries. And so then to switch that and say, I can have luxuries and I can have love and I can have health, right? And I can live in my God-given purpose. It's like, oh my God, this world is amazing, but we didn't know all this time. So yeah, there's a lot of limiting beliefs and these statements, both in English and Spanish, right? Money is the root of all evil. That's BS. That's totally taken out of context in the
For
Bible.
the love of money is the root
Right.
of all
Right.
evil. That's
Exactly.
the quote in the Bible. The love of money.
Right. And that would be the love of anything, the
Anything.
love of sex, the
Love
love
of
of work,
smoking.
the
Mm-hmm.
love of, alcohol, the love of
Mm-hmm.
anything, right? So it's like the love of the planet. Even
Mm-hmm.
if it's you loving the planet, the whole point is it's the love of God, right? So
Mm-hmm.
your love is supposed to be for God. So yeah, that's taken out of context. And then, then we have a bunch of people thinking, oh my gosh, if I get too rich, then I'm not godly. Like, are you kidding me? That's silly. That's
Yeah.
silly.
Yeah. I actually had a couple pastors on this podcast a few weeks, I think maybe a month ago. And this was something that came up. It's like, hey, why does the church make it noble it's like a nobility to be poor? And it's contradicting, because also the church talks about you're supposed to love poor people. You're not supposed to abuse them, right? Just love them. But it's kind of like, why is there that energy around money in the church? Not all churches, right? Naturally. But if God is my father, and I'm a true believer, and God is the creator, and I am, just for the record, and I am, and God is my father, and God is the creator, do I not want the best for my children, right? So everything that's mine is my children's, right? Do I not give the best for my children? Do I not give the best opportunities to my kids? Do I not teach my kids everything I know so that they can go and make something of themselves? Absolutely. I do, at least. That's the way I run my family, right? So if God is my father, then everything on this planet I should have and enjoy the best of the best in anything on this planet. That's just my mindset. It's like, God's my father. This is my dad. My dad created this. My father created this. So then let's go. I want to just enjoy everything I can while I'm here, right? Like,
Exactly. And our God is a God of abundance, right? It's not a God of
yes.
poverty, and it's not a God of punishment. I think that's
Mm-hmm.
where people get lost, is they're thinking, oh, I need to be punished. I can't possibly have all of this. Like, why not? Why wouldn't God want you to have all of that?
Yeah, yeah. And that is something I see really in the Latino community. Is very prevalent in the Latino community. I know, because I come from poverty. Like, guys, look, I could talk shit because I come from poverty. My mom had me here. She sent me to Dominican Republic because she came pregnant with me and she didn't even have a place to live. And when I went back to the Dominican Republic, I remember from 0 to 5, I lived there. When it rained, our roof was made of tin. And when it rained, it would rain in the house, and we had to literally put cups and ollas and things and then throw it out. We didn't have running water in my house. So, we had to wake up at 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, my grandma, go up the street to get water to be able to take showers, flush the toilet, and brush our teeth. So we talk about poverty. I freaking know real poverty. Like, I know real poverty. Like, I lived the first 5 years of my life in DR. And I am telling you, work on your mindset, because it's so much better to be able to have running water, to be able to say, I'm going to my house in the mountains, right? It's so much better to be able to walk out of your house and be in a safe neighborhood. Like, my wife is back home. She called me. We talked yesterday or the day before in the morning, and she was like, it's like 5:30 or 6 o'clock in the morning. She was like, I'm about to go for my run. She was like, but it's dark right now. It's still kind of dark outside. I said, our neighborhood is pretty safe. I don't think you can worry about that. Like, everybody in our neighborhood, you know what I mean? It's like a pretty safe neighborhood. We live in a really safe neighborhood. I was like, however, I'm not trying to influence you. I don't want you to go out when it's dark. Wait a few more minutes. Wait till it's bright. But man, it's so much better that I can say that to my wife and be like, hey, I'm not, like, our neighborhood's pretty safe. Like, everyone in the neighborhood is affluent, right? We're not worried about that. It's better, guys. Trust me when I tell you, it's better. So much better, right? So much better than the other side, right? Where people getting robbed and shot and drugs. And I grew up with drugs, and I grew up with all that crap. It's better, and you shouldn't feel guilty for it. Go work on yourself, right? Go work on the mindset, because I heard something really powerful, Scarlette, and you might relate to this. I was 20. That was that same day. I was 24. That same day that I spoke to that guy that told me to read that book. It was actually, he was the Agent of the Month again. And the general manager had bought a speaker, a coach. That was the first time I knew there was like a coach. I was like, a coach for what? Like a coach out of sports. I was like, this guy was like a sales coach. Had him there. And this guy said something that stood to my brain to this day. He said, being poor is a state of mind. It's not a physical condition.
Mm-hmm.
Being poor, guys, I'm going to repeat that again. Being poor is a state of mind. It is not a physical condition.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, holy shit, how much money you have in your pocket has nothing to do whether you're wealthy or not. It is a state of mind.
Right.
It's what you believe you are, and you will become that.
Yep.
How can immigrants navigate unfamiliar financial, because the financial system is complicated, right? Even for a guy like me, and I'm in business, right? Like there's so much. I have different people. I have different people on my team that do different things for us, right? That's just the way it is. I don't know everything. I was just telling my son that yesterday. I don't as the owner, I don't need to know everything. I just need to have the right people that are experts in this. And my job is to hire the right people.
Right.
But when you're starting out, especially like English is your second language,
Right.
It's so complicated. We're not used to this language. We're used to, you know what we're used to? We're used to just working hard,
Right.
going to work, coming home, paying the bills, and that's basically what we know. What advice are you giving to maybe immigrants or anyone that's in that place with this unfamiliar, very complex financial system and products when they come to a country like ours, or just regular working Americans that don't have financial education? What advice are you giving to them to learn?
I think the biggest thing, to learn would be, yes.
Not reading. TikTok, right?
No, definitely not TikTok, right? I think your best bet is to just find a pro. Find a financial advisor. That's one. If you want to begin investing, find a financial advisor at, whatever investment firms are in your area. All the big banks have an investment piece to it. The Fidelities of the world, Schwab, TDs, like all of them have somebody you can speak to.
Scarlette, those names are intimidating for like mom, your mom, my mom.
Yeah.
You just Schwab, like, gee, like, what the fuck are you saying to me? Like, that's intimidating. Those names are intimidating, right? Like
a Bank of America, those are not intimidating. You already go there for your checking account. Just ask to speak to an advisor or to one of the bankers that like can help you understand it. That's one, right? And two, I can tell you, hey, go online and start watching things, but are they really going to do it, right? Are you, you can watch CNBC every day, but then it's like, it's kind of tough to understand, even for me. And I've been in the industry for 20 years. So I think the biggest and the easiest way would be to just go there first. And then there's also groups like at your local church that can help with the financial piece to it, right? And another way is your accountants. Typically,
there you go. Yeah.
Almost everybody has an accountant, and your accountant can say, okay, hey, go see this advisor, or they can even give you some information on there. Investing is very easy, but yes, it is intimidating for people that have never invested before. And that's why I believe the best way to do it would be through a financial advisor versus you trying to do it yourself. And then you're just, you're watching these people on Reddit and they're buying just stocks, and you could just be buying an index fund and calling it a day, So instead of getting creative, easiest way is to find an index fund, like just an S&P 500 index fund, and put money slowly into that every single month.
Okay, so if I'm listening to you and I'm on this podcast and I'm listening to you right now, I'm saying, yeah, that sounds good. Like, okay, yeah, I've seen that in Despierta America, right? I've seen that in whatever, right? Whatever show. But Scarlette, you know what I want? I rather have, how do I find the you? How do I find the Martin? How do I find someone que me entienda, that understands me, that can just really explain this to me in simple terms and really tell me what to do and really just tell me the differences, that someone, because it's all about trust, right? I look for two things. When I'm looking for someone to add to my team, I'm looking, what are their values, the intangible, their integrity. I'm looking for integrity, and I'm looking for a skill set, right? I'm looking like, hey, man, do you know this stuff? Because I don't know this stuff, nor do I want to really become a master at this stuff. I'm really good at what I do, and that's real estate. That's what I do. I'm a real estate guy, buy apartment buildings as well. That's my lane. But I want to take my money and I want to invest it with someone that really knows, that I can trust, that is going to give me the returns that I'm looking for, that can reach my returns that I'm looking for. How do I find that person, right? So someone's listening and they're like, hey, Scarlette, that sounds good, well, how do I find you? Someone that I could just talk to, someone that I could come, understands me, sit with me, or I could go to their office and they just get me. I could be me. I don't, it's not going to make me feel intimidated with all of this fancy jargon, because this is, you start thinking about bonds and treasuries and interest rates and the 1 year and the 2 year and the T and the 10. I follow that stuff because I'm an investor, right? I need to know where the market is moving. I need to know what moves I'm making. It impacts my business, what move I'm making, and how I'm moving in the future. But the average person, you start talking about 10-year treasury and the interest rates, they think it doesn't. They think it doesn't impact them, but it does impact them a lot more than they think. I know, because I used to be that, so I'm talking from a place of knowing. So how do we find that person? How do we find that person? Yeah, why don't you, let me rephrase that question. How do we test somebody? What should we be asking an advisor when we want to make sure they're the right one, that they're competent? More important, they need to be competent. I'm going to trust somebody with my money. Shit, you better know what you're doing with my money. You better be competent. What should I be asking?
Number one, if they're licensed, ask them what licenses they have, right? Because there's a very big difference between a licensed financial advisor and someone that has, gotten into debt and paid their debt off, and now they call themselves a financial consultant, right?
What's the difference? What's the difference for someone that's licensed versus a certified financial planner and a licensed advisor?
So a licensed financial advisor had to take tests, right, to be able to do what they do. And they can trade, and they are watched over by FINRA, who makes sure that you are not screwing anybody over, that you're not like the next Bernie Madoff, right? So they are held to highest standards. Like anything I do, I need to let them know. Okay. So then I'm constantly being monitored by them. So that's a licensed financial advisor. A certified financial planner, someone that took an exam, right, as well. And a certified financial planner is a perfect person to work with as well. They had to take an exam to be able to give you advice. Then there's other people that call themselves financial consultants. They have some certifications. Those don't really mean anything unless it's licensed or certified financial planners. Those are the two people that really, truly have been licensed and are watched over by state regulations, and really are people you can trust, versus other ones are just kind of like a certification online. That's a difference. And there's something called a broker check on FINRA, and you can check to see if the person is actually a broker.
Which was going to be my next question. How do I verify that, right? Because someone can present themselves real pretty, real nice, and then you come to find, right, they're not licensed, or they're not. That's right. What they say they are. Where do we check?
Yeah, there's on FINRA broker check is the easiest way to do it. And on my website, I have that link right towards the top. So if your listeners go to my website, they can find that link towards the top right, and they can just go on there and then check whoever they're working with to see if they're licensed.
Final question. What's the one thing that middle Americans, poor and or middle Americans, should be doing to create wealth? What's the 1, 2, 3, or what's the one strategy that they should start with in order to start building wealth for themselves?
It's going to be consistency. It's as simple as that. It's consistently putting money away. It's discipline, and people hate to hear that. It's the waving goodbye to immediate gratification. That's really what it comes down to. Our minds are wired to think like primal thinking. We think about what we're going to eat today. We think about what we're going to be doing today. That's primal thinking. It's not wired to think of the future. Oh, okay, if I'm 30 years old, I wonder if I'm going to have enough money at 60, right? You're not wired to think that way. So we have to kind of force our mind to think that way. And that means decreasing immediate gratification now. But this world is really all about immediate gratification, right? And Amazon, your package the same day or the next day, right? You're swiping on dating apps. Nah, okay. Immediate gratification. You're waiting for that text message. You go on your social media. How many people liked this? We constantly want that little dopamine hit. And wealth doesn't work that way. Wealth is about consistent discipline. You put away a certain amount every single month. I have an expense sheet that I use with my clients, and I have them list out everything that they spend, and then I have them list out what they make. And then we look at, this is how much you could be saving every single month. Where the hell is that money going? And people are just like super surprised. They're like, I have no idea where this money is going. Okay, if I audit your credit card statements, I'll see where that money is going, right? That's lifestyle creep.
Mm-hmm.
But if you take that amount or even half that amount and consistently put it into a brokerage account or an IRA or whatever, right? You will build wealth. There's just no doubt about it. It's just a formula. That's how easy it is.
20 years you've been in this business. Tell us a story before we wrap it up. Tell us a story about one of your clients that started out at the bottom and worked his way up with some of the strategies you shared. Tell us the strategies and tell us how he did that, or she.
I'm going to give you one client that I worked with for a while, and let's call her Carmen. Okay. So she came to me, and she's an immigrant. She didn't have, anything really. And she made very little money because she was a waitress, but her biggest goal was to be able to save enough to send her daughter to college. Because she's like, oh, my daughter's smart, and I'm just afraid she's not going to be able to go to college. So she was probably making $35,000 a year, maybe that. But what she would do is, this is what I said. I said, hey, we're just going to open a college account. So we opened a 529 for her. And what you're going to do is you're going every single month, right? You're going to come to me and you're going to deposit this amount. And I looked at her expenses and I looked at her, what she makes. And she's like, okay, I think I could do that. I think I could save. And I think it was maybe like $200, $250, something like that. And every single month, this lady would come in and give me that money, and we'd put it into the account. And years later, this took a while. Years later, she was able to have enough to send her daughter to college. And I finally met her daughter. And her daughter, I actually recently saw them. This was like a while back that I started with her. But like I actually recently saw her daughter. Her daughter went to college, became a teacher. And I saw that unravel because of a mother's discipline and a mother's vision for her daughter. Right? A mom that makes $30-something thousand a year. Like if she could do it, then anyone can do it. Yeah. So that's its consistency, right? And then of course you have other hacks that you can do. Automating into an investment account is a beautiful hack. If you get paid on the 15th, then automate it so that it takes enough money, let's say $300 on the 16th, out of your account immediately. Force yourself to invest. Force yourself to save. That's the best way you're going to build wealth. And then, of course, as you save that money, speak to someone. Have conversations with pros and say, okay, what do I do with this? How do I have this grow? Is it going to go into investments? Is it going to go into real estate? Is it going to go into a business? Like, what's your vision? and have someone help you with that.
I love what you said. You keep bringing up that word vision and discipline. And the great book says, without vision, the people perish. Without vision, without purpose, the people perish. And here is a great story of that lady making $35,000 a year. Most people listening to this podcast can most certainly should be able to relate. The medium income, the medium household income in this country is about 70,000 for a household. 31,000 is very realistic. About 35,000. So without vision, the person had a vision. Which leads me to, and I'll wrap it up with this, is and I don't know if you've heard this before, the story is the story of the two shoe salesmen. Two shoe salesmen get sent to an island to go sell shoes. The first guy, when they get there, the first guy looks around, and they both realize that no one on this island is wearing shoes, Scarlett. The one guy calls his boss and tells his boss, hey, boss, put me on the next flight back home because no one's on this island is wearing shoes. The other guy picks up the phone and says to his boss, hey, boss, send me 10,000 pairs of shoes because I'm going to put shoes on everyone in this island. The moral of the story is that your perspective is what matters. Your mindset is what matters, right? You said something, right? Also, finding the right coach is important. Finding the right mentor, surrounding yourself with the right people. You took this lady and you told her and you projected out and you said, hey, if you put $250 a month. And a lot of times that's what we need. A lot of times we just need, I remember sleeping in the streets, in the trains. I never slept in the streets, in the parks. I would sleep in the rooftops in New York City. I remember sleeping in the rooftops and in the train and praying to God, saying, God, send me someone that can help me. I want someone to teach me how to create wealth. I don't want anyone to give me shit. I don't want nothing handed to me. I want to learn. I want to learn. And a lot of times there's people probably listening right now that are praying for the same thing. They want someone to teach them. They want to be guided. They want to be coached. They need someone to just take them along the journey. And here's Scarlett, here's someone that can help you. And that lady was probably looking for you. And she was open because I used to sell insurance. I'm being Scarlett. So I know, right? I know what it's like to sit across the table and you're fighting people and like, hey man, this is what makes sense. And they think you're just trying to pitch a commission or something and you're really caring about them and trying to help them and you're really showing them love and really trying to help them. But when you find that person that's giving you good advice, and that lady was ready, right? There's a thing that says the teacher will appear when the student is ready.
Right. And I think in order to be ready, you need to commit, right? You need to stop dilly-dallying. You need to stop telling yourself you don't have time. And that's a frame of mind. That's like a decision. So you make a decision and you will seek someone out. You will find somebody, So, I mean, I put content out on my Instagram all the time that helps people. That's my way, my way of helping people for free. And then I have a book out there, 31 Badass Money Mindset Affirmations. It's on Amazon. And it just came out on Spotify and Apple and Google Play. And really, even at your audio libraries, you can find it. It's pretty much everywhere. And it's coming to Audible soon.
Amazing.
So
congratulations, by the way.
Thank you so much. That'll help you just rewire your mindset. And it also gives you exercises on what you can do to look at your finances and some of the things that could be lurking in your subconscious that you haven't dealt with yet.
Absolutely. I love it. Thank you so much. You beat me to it. How can people connect with you? Should maybe they're in your market. I don't know how you work. If they're out of the country, we have listeners all over the world. Thank you guys for listening, by the way. Thank you for tuning in from wherever you are. I have people listening in Russia, Israel, all everywhere. I look at the data all the time. So I just want you guys to know Bangladesh. I have listeners in Bangladesh. I want you guys to know that I'm listening to you. I'm watching you guys. So thank you from the bottom of my heart for watching and listening. So if people wanted to connect with you, they wanted to find you, Scarlett, they wanted to bring you on, they want to bring someone on your team, they want to talk to you, they want a consultation. How do they find you? Where do they connect? How do they connect with you?
Website's the best way, moneymindsetadvisors.com. That is the best way to find me. I'm on Instagram, I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Facebook. And so you can find me, Scarlette Joyce Rojas. You'll be able to find me.
Scarlett, gracias. Appreciate you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you for coming on. Really, really was an honor, pleasure having you here. Great conversation. I'm sure that my listeners got a ton of value from this conversation and listening to you and the wonderful nuggets you shared. Thank you so much. Really, really appreciate it. You're welcome to come back anytime.
appreciate you. I appreciate you. I'm so happy I was invited to your podcast.